All right, folks, welcome back. You'll notice right away that there is no little video of me in the corner this time. I'm trying something new because the last few videos I've made have ruined the video quality enough that you can't read the card images, and that's really not acceptable. So this time I'm going to try something new, and I'm going to splice this together so that you have the original video, which should be legible, I hope, and you still get audio, you just don't get a picture of me. So this will be the first of two videos, one today and one on Thursday, and you should be excited. They are both very interesting and educational, I thought. This first one is going to be on a deck that I have recently made after the results of my last regional, which I did very poorly in because my dark side deck almost never won. Um, it's a little awkward because Tier Dial's deck was almost identical to the one that I ran at the same event, and he got second place, and I got ninth place out of 15 or 16. So I don't know. I guess I just drew poorly. But I also haven't really been that impressed by the interrogation droids. So I'm going to try this version now. It's ye old Zekka Thyne deck, because that's the only reliable way to kill units when the survivors are out now. So real quick, we got Masterful Manipulation, because Xizor is so good. All Out Brawl, because Zekka Thyne. Emperor's Web, because Emperor. Council, because Council. And then one Vader and one Plan of the Prophetess. The idea there being that Saris gives you resources, Saris gives you a way to be better at controlling the Force in the objective, and a way to kill Zekka Thyne if you need to kill Zekka Thyne. And it also does some pretty good work against Rebels. It's very bad against Jedi, though. And I guess the Chud, it can be good if you're gonna find yourself in a position where you want to attack. But frankly, in this meta, attacking is just way too dangerous as the dark side. Way too dangerous. And Vader, I just haven't been impressed with Vader. There's too many ways for the light side to prevent damage. So all of his heats and chokes and direct damage and stuff aren't as good as they used to be. And when you can't just be machine gunning down units the way you used to be able to, I don't really want to pay 5 for Vader. Also, he doesn't want to attack, so giving him his lightsaber for targeted strike is pretty blah. That said, a third choke and a third heated battle are both very, very good at randomly killing units, so one Vader it is. So, we're going to begin the game. First things first, we want All Out Brawl, we want Council of the Sith. Those are for sure. All Out Brawl lets you turn all of your little royal guards into main killers. It turns all of your random resource guys like your debt collectors into stormtroopers. It turns everyone into just a killing machine. It's great. It's a lot better than it looks because the dark side is more interested in killing units than the light side is, as a general rule. So the question is, do I want Vader or Emperor? And honestly, Mix convinced me that the Emperor's Web is way better than people give it credit. So here I'm gonna pitch Fall the Jedi and go along with it. Now I'm gonna say this: I have lost games. One of the games at the regional, actually, I lost because I kept Emperor's Web, and he killed it, and then I flopped another Emperor's Web, and he killed that. And if either of them had one more hit point, I would have won that game because he wouldn't have destroyed his 3 objectives. I did not mulligan because it has Xizor and it has 2 resources and it has choke. And I'm gonna get rid of the entangled because it's bad. So real quick, let's see what he's got. He's got In You Must Go, Heroes and Legends, and Message from Beyond. In You Must Go, interesting. The objective is very strong. The objective set, I don't think is very strong, but a lot of people swear by it. And frankly, if you can protect Yoda from events, then he can be incredibly powerful. Uh, the Obi-Wan's Ghost set is also very interesting. It does counter Zekka Thyne. So if you have someone with a ghost on them and Zekka Thyne goes off, they will survive because the ghost will protect them. It also gives you enhancements to put on Luke, and the objective lets you get enhancements back, and it lets you have enhancements to put on Core Yoda, which he clearly is doing here. I mean, I think it's a solid set. You're never going to run two of it. And I think it has trouble in that, the opportunity cost of any Jedi set is very high because, there's 15 or more good Jedi pods that you'd want to put in a deck and only 10 slots. And so you could make a deck with 10 one-ofs, mono Jedi, and still not include them all. So, yeah, there's a lot of good Jedi pods. This is one of them. And I've seen some people put it to pretty good use. But, I think it's at its best with Kuran, actually. Because if you put it on Kuran, he can soak up 3 damage, deal 3 objective damage, not die, soak up 2 more damage to do 2 more objective damage. He can turn into a defensive engine for killing objectives if you can get that going. And just having that on Ron in general makes your units incredibly difficult to kill. So yeah, it's good. Not great, but good. Very interesting to see here. And also very interesting to see him play it with Kyle Katarn, because obviously Kyle Katarn wants to be bouncing in and out of play, so he doesn't want enhancements, and that set is all about enhancements. So I'm curious to see how this is going to go. So as I said, I tossed and tangled and picked up Palpatine. That's pretty cool. Obviously I'm not going to play in this turn because resources, but I'll throw down some resource chuds and see where we go from there. The question that I have is, okay, so he's going to Ron's Guidance, whatever. So the question here is, do I want to commit the advisor to the Emperor, or do I want to commit the debt collector? The advisor gives you more force icons, which is relevant if they're going to have like a nudge or something. And it's also important to note he does not have May the Force be with you, so that should help a lot. He's going to go fetch Kyle with Ron's Guidance. If I commit, basically it's like, which one do I want to defend with, right? If I commit the advisor, then that means I'm probably going to be defending with the deck collector, who, thanks to All Out Brawl, is a stormtrooper. If I commit the deck collector, that means I'm defending with the advisor, and then that means that I'm going to be using him to tactic someone. If I win the edge battle, then the advisor is probably better, but because I have a choke in my hand and a Palpatine to win the edge battle, I'm actually feeling pretty confident that I can deal 3 damage before they get a chance to strike. So I'm going to draw a card off cancel, get Zekka Thyne. It's good to have him early, but I mean, it's also pretty dependent on what the board state looks like, right? So if I have a lot of units and he doesn't, then I don't want to. Then I don't want to be putting him out because I don't want him to die. Interesting. I checked out what he discarded at the start of his turn. It's an undercover urchin. You probably saw that there is no image for it. That's because at the time I recorded this, I had forgotten to install the image pack that I had. So, whoops. Sorry, guys. I'm not surprised in the least that he did that, discarded the urchin, because I think it's bad. If you've read the review, I think it's bad. So he's going to deploy the Kyle he got after putting out a free resource with In You Must Go. So he has 1 resource left. Very important to note, he did not leave Heroes and Legends unfocused, which means I'm safe. Even if he's going to leave 1 resource back, even if he doesn't have the other Kyle in his hand, he should still leave Heroes and Legends open, because then I have to play around the idea that he could have another Kyle. And if he did have another Kyle and Heroes and Legends, then it's just not possible for me to kill him with the 2 unit damage plus force choke, which, spoiler alert, is what I'm going to do here. Because I'm going to throw Palpatine down and then pass and pretend it's a twist. And he's going to be like, oh no, he just put it down a twist. And then I'm going to beat him with Palpatine. And then put 2 damage and then choke. And then he'll be dead. He's surprised here that I used a Palpatine so early, but he's about to not be surprised when I kill his only unit. And also that means that none of my units are going to be double focused. So if I drew another Palpatine, theoretically I could play it, but yeah, no, it's time to just start killing people. So he used a Shicho training and Calm, both of which I consider bad cards, but they both have 2 edge icons, so I guess it's fine. Calm, for those of you who may not remember it from way back in the day, is an event from the Ben's Spirit pod. It costs 0, I believe, can only target a friendly unit with 2 or more enhancements, and it removes all focus tokens from them, but you can only play it on your opponent's turn. So it's like a really situational version of Rage. Really situational. So here I'm going to discard Zekka Thyne, and he's going to be surprised at that because like the deck is all about Zekka Thyne. But I have 2 resource units on the board, and he has nobody. So I would rather play more proactive things like this Xizor that I've been sitting on. So I'm going to go ahead and deploy a resource guy and then deploy Xizor. Because Xizor is way, way, way better than Zekka Thyne at holding the force, at defending, at just being an all-around good guy. He also has 2 tactics icons, which is very important. And he can deal 3 damage to someone if I win the edge. So he is as good in this situation as Emperor Palpatine. Because he can easily kill one guy with 3 unit damage, and then tactics out 2 more. Now I didn't commit him to the Force because I didn't want him to get Kyled, and also because it's not relevant and I don't mind losing the Force at the end of his turn. Because if he does that, that means he's not attacking because he has no May the Force be with you. Even if he did have May the Force be with you, I still probably would have not committed him just because, with May the Force be with you, it's so hard to deal with to try to actually fight the Force struggle when they can attack and win the Force. So he damaged the Old Ben Spirit objective to get back Shicho training. To be honest, I'm not entirely sure why he did that, because it happens before your draw phase, which means it's one of your 6 cards. And Shicho training honestly isn't all that good. But yeah, okay, I guess he wanted it. I guess he wanted 2 edge icons, but honestly, any card out of your deck is going to be better than 2 edge icons. So he's going to play a nudge, lower the dial, blah blah blah. He's going to put out Kyle. He's going to put a free Old Ben Spirit on him. So now Kyle cannot die. But like whatever. He left Heroes and Legends open this time, which is good for him. But he put an enhancement on his Kyle, slightly less good. But whatever. And he has Kyle and Nudge. If he commits the Nudge, he'll win the Force struggle, which I fully expect him to do. Oh yeah, and then when he threw down Kyle, he focused out my committed resource guy, which is the only thing he could do because I specifically did not commit Xizor. That said, he's going to attack here, and I think about it, and I'm like, well, I could block. And if I'm really confident about winning this edge battle, then I could kill or I could do some damage to Kyle and focus him out and focus out the nudge, blah blah blah. But honestly, if I don't block, he does 2 objective damage and then leaves his entire board open on the crackback when I have a Black Sun Headhunter in my hand. Like, I'm actually kind of okay with this trade. He can do 2 damage, whatever. He can take the Force, whatever. I have a Headhunter and a Royal Guard and Vader and his lightsaber. Like, these are all excellent cards. Interestingly, not that interestingly, When it gets to my turn here, I decide to play out the Force Lightning because I'm going to discard it either way. It's not a card that I can afford to sit on, so I might as well trade it one for his little Ben Spirit thing. Um, the the Emperor's Web lowers the cost by one, so it's not the worst at two. Um, and uh, maybe this is the wrong decision. And then, oh yeah, so then I resolve it, and it automatically kills him, even though Ben's Spirit is there. So we have to do the whole get him back from the discard thing. Um, I'm not entirely sure that was correct. Maybe I should have just discarded it and saved myself the two resources. Like, he could always just get it back with the old Ben Spirit objective, just damage the objective, get it back, play it again for free. It's not really that much of a problem for him. But then I guess like it's one fewer card that he'll draw if he wants to do that, um, and frankly, I think my board position is good enough at this point that I'm okay with that. So I just played this out really rapidly. So to catch you up, I drew my cards, and then I played a Headhunter, and and then I played a precog, discarded Kuat Security Team, played out a Protector because I needed Protect, and now I'm going to get in there at Heroes and Legends and start laying the beat down. Now I do have a Debt Collector in my hand, and I guess here's where you could argue that if I hadn't Lightninged him, I could have played the Debt Collector out and had another pseudo Stormtrooper, but that's what I have in the Royal Guard, so I don't need a dude. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to commit. This time I'm going to commit Xizor and the Royal Guard. That'll make it harder for him to take the Force back. Let's draw a card with Council. That'll make it harder for him to take the Force back. It opens me up to more Kyle shenanigans, but Kyle's already in play. So he needs the other Kyle in his hand right now to start doing a Kyle loop. And even then, again, Kyle doesn't do that much objective damage, so he needs to have someone else come down to supplement his whole I'm going to focus out all your dudes plan. That's actually an interesting talking point. Kyle Katarn's objective set, when I first saw it, I was very underwhelmed because he only had one white blast damage in the entire objective set for all intents and purposes. And the set that he pairs best with is Yoda, which also comes with very low blast units. And as a aggressive light side player, I like to have lots of blast because I like to end the game and pressure my opponent. But I also really like Kyle, so I was trying to figure out what exactly to do about Kyle. And I've finally come to the conclusion that Kyle is actually a control set, because Kyle's biggest strength is his ability to place focus tokens where you need them. Granted, it only goes on committed units, but oftentimes you'll get into situations like this where the dark side only has a couple units and they're all committed because they needed to win the Force struggle. Um, so Kyle's set really revolves around Kyle and Heroes and Legends, and Kyle himself helps control what units your opponent has access to. It's a control card. It also defends very well, and with May the Force be with you, holds the Force very well. Combine it with Yoda, and what you end up with is a deck that has a lot of ways to put focus tokens and tactics on the board, with more ways to recycle your units and continue to use them multiple times, which lets you make extra use of all of the single blast icons. So it's a very strong control set. You're not going to win the game quickly, but if you're a good control player, you're going to win the game reliably. So now we get into this engagement that I've sort of talked through. he played Luke and he put Trust Your Feelings on Luke, and that's a pretty big deal. I'm checking his discard pile to see if he has any, um, if I should be aware of any twists. He doesn't have any, he hasn't shown me any cards from the twist set. I still have to assume that it's there because I can't imagine anyone making a mono Jedi deck without the Guardians. But but since I don't see anything, I guess I'm just gonna go ahead with it. And then once he puts in his entire hand, it's like obviously there's no twist. So I'm gonna put in Vader and Vader's lightsaber. Okay, so real quick, back up. Luke and Kyle attack together at Council because he wants it dead, and he's planning on using Trust Your Feelings to get Luke to attack a second time and wipe my board, as much as he can. Since all of his units are in, I'm going to block with all my units. And then we just do our edge battles, and like I said, I check. I don't see anything that tells me he has a twist, so I'm going to throw everything in because he threw everything in, and Vader and his lightsaber, which I've been sitting on this whole game, are now going to do exactly what the Emperor did earlier, which is provide me lots of edge icons to win this edge battle. And he threw in a lot of cards with varying amounts of effectiveness. And I just threw in everything that wasn't a Sith library or a lightning. Turns out I didn't even need the lightning, because since I blocked with Xizor, because Xizor's really good, and I also blocked with the Royal Guard, even though the Royal Guard doesn't have elite, because assuming I won the edge battle, I wanted to be able to kill both of his units, not just focus them out, but kill both of his units. And that is exactly what happened, because I won the edge battle thanks to Vader, and then Xizor struck, killed Luke, focused out Kyle, so Kyle couldn't strike back, and then the Imperial Royal Guard strikes again. Again, all of this is possible because of All Out Brawl. Like, that is the real deal objective. And the fact that it turns Royal Guards into potential main killers can really punish your opponent for running a deck that doesn't include the survivors, which apparently this is. So now I'm going to draw back up. He has no mains. He just has his little nudge. He got the force back, but I don't really care because I've killed his mains. So I'm going to throw out some resources. I really actually have... This is like a terrible hand. Wow. It's got like 2 limited cards, and I can only play 1, and so I'm going to play Dark Temple because it's better. It has Zekka Thyne, which I actually actively do not want to play, because if he dies, that's really bad for my board position. I mean, Heat of Battle is the only relevant card in this hand, because literally the only other card I played was another deck collector, which is functionally another resource. But you know what? I'm just gonna keep getting in there with my little headhunter, and I'm gonna use my deck collectors plural, to start loading up single objective damages on his objectives, because frankly I have enough units at this point that I can afford to throw 1 or 2 of them away to start building up objective damage, so when the dial does hit 6, I will end him. So that is exactly what I'm going to do. The real question is, what is he going to play on his turn? Because my hand is really bad, so I have to go into this assuming that... And then I draw a card with Council, and it's another Sith Library, which is awesome, because that means I have no edge icons. And it's not a card I can play on his turn. Which is... actually, I don't have that many free resources, I guess. Because I used the green one... I used 1 green one to keep up the headhunter, and the other one to play for the deck collector. That's right. So I have 2 advisors and Xizor. I'm feeling pretty good, or I would be if I had a decent edge hand. Granted, of course I'm going to draw a bad edge hand, because the last 2 edge battles I was in, I just crushed him, because Palpatine and Vader do that. I'm sure a lot of people will be upset that I didn't play Vader, but again, I don't think he's that good. I mean, he's a strong unit, don't get me wrong, but he's not a unit that I want to pay 5 resources on, because at the best he can kill maybe 1 guy. Xizor can deal with 3 guys, and he also costs 5. The Palpatine can deal with 3 guys, but he costs 6, like whatever. And if I'm given the choice between Xizor and Vader, I'm always going to play Xizor and edge Vader because Vader's better at edge and Xizor's better on the table. So yeah, that's why I think Xizor is just better than Vader. Straight up, I think his pod is better than Vader. I think he is better than Vader. Unless we stop seeing Ron, I believe that will continue to be true. Xizor is also much better against enemy vehicles. Vader is very sad against vehicles. Um, and if you're running Xizor next to Zekka Thyne, you're still getting the heat of battles, which is one of the better cards out of Vader's set. Vader's set is just all about, you know, extra damage coming out of nowhere, right? It's got heat of battle, it's got force choke, it's got Vader's reaction. All three of those are ways to get extra damage out of nowhere. But damage doesn't do a lot when they can just prevent it all with shields and protect and the survivors. So he's a little concerned about his board state here. He played another free resource. He played out Vima Daboda, who's fine, but pretty bad against Xizor, I think. And she only has 2 edge, or 2 force icons, and I have 5. So even if he commits her, which is bad because she's not elite, I'm still going to win the force struggle. But at the same time, if he attacks with her, like what? I'll just let him focus out a dude and get a couple objective damage, just like I did with Kyle, and then just on the crackback, go nuts. Because now a debt collector can kill heroes and legends, a debt collector can kill the Obi-Wan's spirit objective, because they both have 1 health. So literally all I need to do is like draw a Kuat security team or Vader's apprentice, and I win. Actually, no, I have Xizor. Xizor can be my last blast damage. Like, theoretically, if he has no blockers, I have the win on the board. Assuming he doesn't take the force, which he can't, because he doesn't have enough force icons. So he's trying to figure out what exactly he's going to do. The answer is he's just going to defend, because she has shielding, she can shield the objectives, right, and she can also put some defensive tactics down. But when the light side is on defense and the dark side has the force, it's bad news bears. And it all comes down to those early turns when I was able to kill off Kyle, and Luke. I killed Kyle, and then I killed him again, and then I killed Luke. And he didn't get to strike with any of them because of Xizor's tactics and because of the heat of battle, or the force choke that I had earlier. And again, all of this is thanks to All Out Brawl. So don't underestimate All Out Brawl. It's the real deal. So I go to the deployment phase, I pay 1, I have to keep my little starship dude. Now here's a funny thing. I have Shadows of the Empire, and I would love to play Shadows of the Empire. But the problem is, if I play Shadows of the Empire, I actually can't win this turn. Whereas if I just attack, then maybe I can. So here, I'm going to get in first with my advisor, because if he doesn't block with Vima Daboda, then I can just tactics out Vima Daboda, and that answers that question. So he's going to block with her, and he's going to shield the objective, which is very wise of him, because damaging her is irrelevant. That means I'm not going to win this turn, but I don't really mind, because I can kill 2 objectives, bump me up to 9, and then go to 11 the following turn. I guess I still need to kill the 3 objectives, but, whatever. I'm going to throw all these cards that I don't want into the edge battle. Actually, it's worth noting that I did not play... I don't think I played I didn't play a Sith Library. Oh no, I did play a Sith Library, but I had 2 other ones. Yeah, so I played... Yeah, that's right. And here I'm just using them as like edge fodder in terms of trying to convince him to commit lots to this edge battle that I know I'm going to lose. And I know he's going to tactics out the Well, he could tactics out. I actually forget what he tactics is. He put in Yoda to the edge battle, which I was shocked by. But then he could only play one main, which means it's either Yoda or Vima, and Vima is actually better in this case. Again, it's the same Xizor versus Vader, where Vima is better on the board and Yoda is better in the edge battle. Uh, and it's Core Yoda, that's why Core Yoda is better in the edge battle. Um, but that's actually great for me because I was going into this edge battle assuming I would lose it. So then the next question is, what can I get? What can I draw out from him that he thinks he's going to need? Whereas now I've made him basically waste a Yoda on an edge battle that was irrelevant. I damaged Vima with Heat of Battle because he didn't shield her, and then he strikes first, so he's gonna. There was a little confusion because he damaged my guy, and I went to protect it, and then I remembered that Vima has an extra damage from Brawl, and my advisor's not that good. Uh, but he chooses to tactics out Xizor so that his next attack is better, I assume. I think it would probably have been better to tactics out the Headhunter because the Headhunter is going to do a lot of damage now. Um, and this time I get in with the Headhunter and with the Advisor. I shield the Advisor. That's to discourage him from blocking. Um, and I really don't want him to block because I really want to make Vima Dabota have two tactics on her so that her not being elite becomes a problem. It's the same strategy I use against, what's his face? Ferris. Because he's not elite either, but he does have shielding. So if he ever puts the shield somewhere that isn't on him, I'm just going to be like, I'm going to load you up with tactics, and you're never going to come out from underneath them. And then he doesn't block my last attack, so I go in with the Debt Collector to destroy Heroes and Legends, which was the plan. If I had to destroy an objective, I would rather it be Heroes and Legends and rather than what's it called? Journey from Beyond or whatever. Message from Beyond. Which is why I attacked Message first to encourage him to defend that attack and leave Heroes and Legends open, because Heroes and Legends is probably the best light side objective. Most people will say that the best light side objective is May the Force be with you, and that is arguable, but so is Heroes and Legends. I think they're about even. But both of them are just, you need to get them off the board as fast as possible. It's kind of insane how badly you need that. So that's why I prioritized that one last, so he would have the fewest defenders for it, so it would die. So now he has no Vima Dabota available, but I have no Xizor, so it's all about what he's going to draw an attack with here. The problem is he has to win this turn, basically, because even if he takes the Force, the dial's going to go to 8, and then I'm going to kill 2 objectives, and the dial will go to 13, and I'll win. Because literally my 2 Debt Collectors can win me the game at this point. I don't even need the Black Side Headhunter, but shielding is helpful for getting that. The shielding and the Black Blast damage. Those are both very important because even if he defends now, I can still end the game. So that means that I can't. He can't really afford to attack at all. Like, he has to leave back defenders, which is a bad spot for him to be in because all he has done this entire game is 2 objective damage. Of course, he's going to play out the best unit in his hand, as he should, and that unit is Obi-Wan Kenobi. And don't get me wrong, Obi-Wan Kenobi is very strong. And I actually have 0... I have 2 on the Force with the Royal Guard. And he has 2 with the Nudge, so it's very easy for him to take back the Force. But what's actually very interesting here is now he's going to put Force Cleansing on Vima, so on my turn the dial will go up, and Vima will become clear of her focus and her damage. So he's now going to have 2 defenders, and then Ben will be protected by Ben's Spirit, which makes no sense, but this is a card game. I like to imagine that Ben is just like time traveling back from the future, being like, wait, no, you need to not fight Xizor, because if you fight Xizor, you'll die. And he's like, oh, okay, then I'm not going to fight Xizor. Or something, I don't know. It's silly, but it's fun. Um, so now again he's on turbo defense because he needs to not lose to my Headhunter, which is Black Blast, and my Xizor, which is also Black Blast. Uh, but now he has two mains to defend with, and they both have lots of tactics, so that's good. And one of them has shielding, and the other one can't be killed. He's also going to get back whatever the top card of his discard pile is. I forgot to check, so I don't actually know what card he gets back, because Octagon unfortunately doesn't tell you what the card is that your opponent gets back, even though it's public information. It's annoying, but whatever. That just means it's on you to check. So if you're playing on Octagon against Obi-Wan Kenobi, check their discard pile before the Force phase, and then you'll know what they're getting. Otherwise, you'll be like me and you'll forget. And then you won't know. And maybe you'll just run into a bunch of twists. Because I have done that to people before on Octagon, where I get this Obi-Wan out and I just start looping twists. And it's like, and they're like, oh my god, how do you have so many twists? I'm like, dude, it's the top card of my discard pile every time. If you had looked, you would know that I would have a twist every single turn. But instead, I'm just going to keep twisting you because apparently you keep falling for it. So don't fall for it, man. That said, I've also been on the receiving end of that in real paper Star Wars, where I was playing at the actually maybe this was at the regional. Now that I think about it, because it was pretty recent and it was during a tournament, so it must have been at the regional then, or maybe it was at the store championship. No, probably regional, where he goes, Obi-Wan commit, blah blah blah, get back the card, it's twist, whatever. I know it's a twist, but I'm not really thinking about it. And then the following turn, we get in an engagement, and he's like, twist. And I'm like, oh no, I thought you only had one twist. And he's like, dude, you saw me get it back. And I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. I did watch you put it back in your hand. Not even Octagon where it's like telling you. No, I watched him put it back in his hand, and I still fell for it. So don't do that either. So now we're going to so we go into my refresh phase. And now we have to do this whole awkward shadows dance. And the strategy here is, I don't need to kill a hero's journey. In fact, I don't want to kill a hero's journey, because if I destroy the other two, I win. So that does not need to be in play. I have this Shadows of the Empire that I can only play on my turn, but I don't want it in my hand during deployment. Or during the draw phase. I want to draw another card. So I'm going to play it out instead of discarding it, because it'll get rid of one of his objectives, which most importantly will trigger Xizor and take away one of his cards. Because now I can capture one of the cards in his hand, which will make his ability to do the force struggle, or do the edge battle, much harder. And guess what? I randomly chose Yoda. So yes, use Xizor and the cards in Xizor's set to win edge battles against your opponent, because that's what he's there for. I don't remember if I forget. Oh, nope. So I focused the debt collector to keep my Headhunter. The Headhunters are surprisingly important for this deck. You don't want to see them early game, and even in some late games you still don't want to see them. But having them in your deck, I put a very high stock in having the ability to do something sometimes, rather than not having the ability at all and maybe being better at something else. I have a high value of toolboxing. I highly value toolboxing. Let's put it that way. The fact that I have two Headhunters in my deck makes the deck, I think, much better than if I had none and maybe had other better cards that were super defensive. Maybe like if they were Tusken Raiders or something, then they would be much, much better defensively. But, Xizor and Palpatine and Advisors and Royal Guards with Brawl, all of these things do that for me already. So I don't need defense. I like to have a little bit of offense, which is another reason I like Xizor's pod, because it's good at all of the things. Xizor is great at defense. His objective gives you resources. His resource chud is pretty bad, but he's a resource chud, so I'll take what I can get. All right, so quick backtrack. I played a Dark Side Apprentice to give me Blast against the last objective. That's it. I considered playing the Servant of the Dark Side because it has Black Blast, but it also occurred to me that all of his units can block my Servant because they all have 2 or more edge icon or force icons. So I decided I would rather just have it as 2 edge icons for the edge battle, because the rest of my hand is pretty bad for the edge battle. The choke I'm holding on to as a means to dispatch the nudge, obviously, which is going to be very important here in a minute because I'm going to use it to get rid of the nudge so that the last attack is unopposed. And the reason that I included Xizor in this attack, because I could just attack with the Headhunter, and still destroy the objective. But by including Xizor, I enabled myself to use the Prince's scheme to ensure that I won the edge battle, so that I definitely got to strike before he started throwing tactics on my entire side of the board, because he has 2 black tactics. That's pretty relevant. And so literally the only reason Xizor is in here is so that I can Prince's scheme to win the edge battle 6-2. He's going to try to siege Xizor, but that's why I shielded Xizor to start with. Besides which, Xizor is better than the Headhunter. If he wants to tactics the Headhunter, I'm totally fine with that. But now I'm going to do the same trick I did against Yoda, or against Luke and Kyle, where I kill one main and focus out the other. And this time I'm going to kill Vima because I can't kill Obi-Wan because he has his ghost. And then the Black Blast destroys the objective, and then I choke out the nudge and destroy the last objective and win the game. So, what are our takeaways? 1, Message from Beyond and Kyle don't go well together. 2, Xizor is excellent. 3, Brawl is excellent. Brawl and Imperial Royal Guards are excellent. Brawl and Deck Collectors and Heated Battles and Chokes are excellent. This deck has way more resource units than I would like, but I guess I'll take it. Vader and Emperor are excellent edge cards, and don't be afraid to use them to win edge battles when you need them. Edge battles against opponents' mains are far more important than pretty much any other edge battle. If my opponent were to attack with a non-main, I think I would probably just not care. But that's going to wrap it up. I hope you guys found this interesting, and I will see you next week, or not next week, in 2 days with a very special video. So tune in.